and welcome to my kinda late full moon video. Excuse my disheveled appearance. This is my post full moon look. Steal Tova's look by looking very tired and generally out of it. So here I am. I'm showing up. And I desperately tried to get my Photoshop window to look good on this and do like a whole thing. It's just not going to happen. So we're just going to go into the actual astrology, and I'm going to draw on this chart, and I put the Sabian symbol for the moon there, and we're just going to go right into it. So here we are. This is our full moon. And basically what the full moon was about was successfully finding, if you were really putting in the work this week, and really since the new moon, but if you were really putting in the work, it was successfully finding balance between what you have to be getting done for work or other obligations versus when can you take time for yourself, your home, your family. And one thing that I felt very strongly when it happened was the ingress of Mercury and Venus going into Cancer. Because we had so much Gemini going on for a good while, and then, bam, we had two planets going to Cancer at pretty much the same exact time. And that was kind of like a startling, weird, emotional energy that was like kind of heavy for me personally. I don't know if you guys felt similarly, but what these planets are going to be helping us do is discern what we want out of the Cancer section of our lives, and you're going to want to look at your birth chart to figure out where Cancer is located, what we desire, Venus, out of that area of our lives, and how to communicate that, or how to communicate with that. So you'll want to check that out and see what that is, and because that area of your life is going to be very important for the next month. And really the initiation point was this full moon. So it was a time of emotional release, at least becoming aware, or stuff coming out in the open, which happens with oppositions of any planet. I think of it as an illumination. Something came to light that you may have been avoiding it, and all of this stuff that's going to be going on, which I'm about to get into, is going to be bringing that to the surface for all of our highest good, for a good reason. Nobody is being punished. I think that it's really just a push from the universe to go ahead and act on these things. And I think that if you have the right attitude going into some of these situations, that you're going to be fine. Well, in general, we're going to be fine. We're going to make it through this together. So I wanted to quickly mention that Jupiter in the first decan of Gemini, we've been getting, this is all new territory for us. And what this has kind of been letting us know about is that we're getting an inkling as to what we want to expand and what we want to maybe how our beliefs or philosophically potentially with Jupiter, what kinds of big expansive things do we want to occur, or do we want to bring into our lives that are happening in our Gemini area of life or our immediate environment the people that we talk to every day, the things that we do to stay mentally busy, what ways do we want to expand, and how do we want to communicate that? And it's an emotional communication now. Mercury's not in rulership anymore, so it's a little bit more difficult to be communicating these desires that we're working on. But even so, this Jupiter has been giving us kind of an idea of like what we're hoping for. And I also wanted to talk about this Venus-Mars sextile, because what is going to be happening, and this, you know, this is going to be going on for a while. Actually, Mercury is really, at the time that this full moon happened last night, was in exact sextile with Mars. So you probably had a bit of an easier time than you have for the you know, leading up to this, to communicate, to take action on whatever this communicative thing is that you're trying to express, maybe based on your hopes and dreams that we've been figuring out with this Jupiter. But this Venus-Mars sextile is going to be going on for a little bit now. And Mars in Taurus has been encouraging us, because Mars is not fast here. Mars is really just like, okay, well, I'm gonna, you know, take my time with this. I'm going to do things in a methodical way. I'm going to do this one step at a time, and I'm going to remain grounded in, you know, what it is that I believe is valuable and what it is that makes me comfortable. Those sorts of things are going to be kind of the focus, and are going to be supporting our desires for home and family, emotional stability, taking general sort of emotional action, since Cancer is a cardinal sign. There's an initiatory emotional wave coming in, is kind of what's going on here. So basically this full moon has just been all about like figuring out, okay, what is this balance between my like obligations that I have to do that maybe don't necessarily bring me comfort or joy, versus, okay, what's going on with my home and family life? What are the things that I want to do to bring me some kind of comfort and rest? So you've had to make decisions this past week. You'll probably have to continue to be making decisions all throughout this month, this upcoming month pretty much, until the next Capricorn full moon, about how can you organize your priorities in a way where, yes, you're taking care of these obligations, but you're also like consciously finding time to make sure that you are expressing and experiencing these Cancerian sorts of desires for your life that are, you know, we're in a time period where all of the planets are over here. There's hardly anything going on over here. So even though it's you know, it's summertime, and there's this feeling of like, okay, I want to go and have fun and be outside and be with people. There's this sort of, we need to stay close to home, and we need to stay close to our immediate environment and make sure that we have all of that, like all of our ducks in a row, so to speak, because, you know, the second half, the outer half of the wheel doesn't really truly begin until we get into the 7th house, aka Libra, and then goes all the way over here. So it really isn't until we start getting some planets over here that we're really going to be focusing on kind of this outer world of things. And you also have to remember that we have the South Node over here in Libra. So right now the collective is dealing with the Libra side of what we've been doing, you know, the pitfalls of our lives, and as it relates to issues going on with how we operate in relationships, versus our self-worth, our ability to initiate new things, our ability to lead. We've had Chiron in Aries. Chiron is, you know, pretty close to the end of Aries at this point. Yeah, Chiron's in the last decan of Aries. So we have learned a lot while Chiron's been over here. I mean, my sun is like right here. So I went through that Chiron sun transit. And it was really then that I started like really coming into, okay, these are the things that I want to do to improve myself. So we're all we've been looking at that for years at this point. And we're trying to figure out like, okay, well, how am I supposed to empower myself so that I can operate in the world and with other people in a way that is beneficial, not just to them, but also to me and also to everybody, stuff like that. That's what's going on. And this axis that we're dealing with this year is really going to be getting activated during this time, because we've got all of this stuff going on in these signs that are going to be in square. So when there's squares to the nodes, we're being asked to make a decision. Sometimes a very hard decision, one that, we might want to avoid. I have sun square the nodes in my natal chart. So with that, you kind of have to think of, okay, well, what is going on in this south node area of my life that is inhibiting me from moving toward what is being asked of me, by the circumstances that happen in my life, or in general by the universe, or whatever you want to believe. What are the shadow aspects here that are keeping me from achieving the goals that the North Node is asking of me in order to evolve? So when these planets, and when they come to this is looking ahead now, which we're pretty much gonna be looking ahead for the rest of the video, but all of this stuff in Cancer is gonna come to this point where it's gonna square the nodes. And that's really important because we're going to be operating from an emotional space. That is going to be helping us to be informed by those emotions to be able to make decisions. So it's very important to understand that when you're faced with challenges that are coming up with this last quarter, up until the new moon in 2 weeks, you need to be thinking, okay, how can I listen to and take care of my emotional body, my emotional space, so that I can make decisions based on, an informed place where I have a good sense of what I want to do and how I want to do it and how I want to express myself. These are all very important things to keep in mind during this time period. So what's going to be going on, and if you look at where the moon is here, we're just going to very quickly talk about what's going to happen as the moon is going to be coming around. And it's going to come to this square here with this Cancer stuff. And I believe that's going to be like next Friday or so. So over the next week, the moon is going to finish up in Capricorn, go into Aquarius, go into Pisces, and then go into Aries. So when the moon goes into Aquarius, it's going to conjunct Pluto, and it's going to be making these quincunxes to the stuff in Cancer. And I think that this is going to be a wake-up call for some people, because in the disseminating phase, it's a lot easier to be like, okay, well, I'm recovering from this sort of like heightened emotional energy of the full moon, but what's happening right now is that the moon immediately afterward, after it comes out of its fullness, is going to bam, conjunct Pluto, very intense, very transformative. And then it's going to be making this aspect that's related to frustration-y, sort of something needs to be adjusted to be able to function properly here in Cancer. So our emotional world, our mood, is going to kind of conflict with what our goals are, what our emotional goals are. So you're going to find that maybe when the moon goes into Aquarius, that there's this sense of oh, I don't really feel like connecting with anybody right now the way that I maybe did, or I'm not sure about these goals that I have, or something like that. There's going to be a period of time, because the moon, Aquarius, is detachment. And it's intellectual. And it can sometimes be a little bit of a know-it-all. It can sometimes be a little bit of, yeah, maybe I feel this way, but I'm just going to brush that off to the side. And I'm just going to think about what I already know, because I know. That's Aquarius is I know. So what's going to happen when the moon goes into this sign is we're going to be feeling maybe a little bit discouraged about whatever the situation is that you might encounter. One thing that I forgot to mention that I'm just now realizing because this is up here. I started looking at the astrology and I got too excited, but I did want to mention this Sabian symbol that was for the full moon that just happened last night. This is stained glass windows in a Gothic church, one of them damaged by war. So I'm going to say, try not to take that literally, but what I think that this, and this is the degree of the moon, 1 degree cap. What this is saying to us is that stained glass windows are representing beauty, artistry, craftsmanship, things that somebody or us as a collective worked very hard to create. And this broken piece, damaged by war, I almost think of it as like the scars of battle. And I think it's kind of representing our collective trauma. And I think it's representing our individual trauma. One thing that I've been talking about in my podcasts a lot is how to deal with processing and transmuting this negative energy that comes up whenever you think about, like, having to deal with these traumatic emotions, these events from the past that, like, you don't want to think about necessarily, but you know that, like, in order to move on, you have to heal them in some way. So what the heck do you do? And a lot of people get stuck right there and they don't progress. And one very, very important, essential step is acceptance. You have to understand that in order to move on from something, you have to just be like, okay, now what? Okay, like I honor this. I honor what happened. I forgive myself for whatever happened. Even if I forgive whoever it was that wronged me, and I'm accepting it and I'm moving on to the next thing. And the ability to do that shows a lot of strength, and it's really, really essential to be able to continue, because one thing that made me really upset when I was going through my own personal healing process, and I still am, but one thing that made me really upset, that was really hard for me to come to terms with, was you're going to be challenged for your entire life. The challenges don't stop. You just have to get stronger. So then whenever you are encountering these challenges, you don't see them as roadblocks, you see them as opportunities for growth. So that is so, so important. So I really think that this full moon is touching on that, and I think that that's what the Sabian symbol is bringing up for us. So I want to get back to what's ahead. We just talked about what's going on with this Aquarius moon. We're going to be feeling kind of detached. We're going to be feeling more intellectual. They say that Aquarius is kind of, I think that the best way to use that Aquarius energy is to kind of, embrace, like, okay, I want to isolate a little bit right now. But when you do that, try to think about the positive side of Aquarius, which is hope for the future, innovation. What can I do for the collective? You know, I think that those are things that are going to be helpful. Learning stuff from people who like you would consider to be way more advanced than you. Read a book. You know, stuff like that is going to be very beneficial during that time period. And then that's going to be early in the work week. So Monday, Tuesday. So use Monday and Tuesday for intellectual pursuits. Maybe get away from other people for a little bit and just kind of recollect yourself and be like, okay, like I might be feeling a little emotionally weird right now, but that's okay. I can step back, you know, from the emotional intensity because that moon is going to conjunct this Pluto first. And we have to think about that every single time the moon comes into Aquarius now. We're going to be hit with like that, you know, that intensity. But what that can do for us and what Pluto oftentimes does is that intensity and that transformation motivates us. So take whatever weird feelings come up on Monday and Tuesday as motivation to continue learning and to continue innovating. So keep that in mind for Monday and Tuesday. And then by Wednesday, we're going to have the moon come into Pisces, and this is going to be all about self-care. And I really encourage people when the moon is in a water sign, especially like Scorpio, Pisces, and mostly Scorpio and Pisces, but even in Cancer too sometimes, is don't self-medicate with, you know, substances. Don't do things like absent-mindedly in, you know, an attempt to escape the heavier energy. You need to focus on making sure that you are taking care of yourself, that you are, you know, taking these, you really have to step in almost like you're parenting yourself and be like, okay, I understand that you want to go and get drunk right now, or you want to, you know, do whatever else, but what we're really going to do is we're going to, what's going to happen is the moon, there's my terrible moon drawing. Perfect. The moon is gonna trine everything in Cancer when it comes into Pisces. So that's gonna be much more free flowing energy. It's gonna be easier energy. That's what a trine means. And we are going to be able to pair our mood at this time with whatever these goals are that we've been working on for our home, for our family. And, you know, remember that with these nodes, we're working on filling our own cup before we fill anybody else's cup. So before this moon comes into Aries, I really encourage you guys, and preferably, like, I'm talking like Wednesday night, you know, to do stuff like take a bath, take a shower with a nice smelling body wash, you know, light a candle, clean your house, you know. So, and that's a really good thing to do when the moon is waning, is to do cleaning, you know, prepare for like what the next like bam new moon thing is going to be. So I think that this is really important, you know, to be doing during this time. And you're going to potentially be feeling like a lot more emotionally reactive during this time too, because the emotions are just going to be more free flowing because of the trine aspect. And the moon and the sun will actually be in trine at some point, because the sun will be moved over here at that point. You guys are just going to have to trust where I'm putting the planets because I really like to draw on the chart. And it was either this or I was going to have to be on the AstroSeek website. By the way, I get my charts from AstroSeek. Everyone should go get their charts from AstroSeek because it's the best. I love AstroSeek. So, go there. Check out your chart. This is my favorite astrology website of all time. So, yeah. So, self-care during Pisces time. Keep that in mind. The moon is going to come in conjunct these guys as well. But the good news about this is that during this time, all these energies are going to be doing. What am I trying to say? They're going to be playing nice with this Cancer vibe. So we're really understanding, like, I'm really thinking about this Neptune-Saturn thing in Pisces as, like, the people who are working on their spiritual development. What's going on is that we're grounding that into our physical reality. Like, maybe you're like me and you've spent years being like, oh, yeah, well, day to day, like, I understand these concepts, but I'm not necessarily practicing them. And now is the time to start practicing them. Saturn is discipline, you know? And you might be like, ew, Saturn, ew, discipline. I don't like that. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but discipline is essential to growth. So if you're really in this fight, you know, with us, with the spiritual army, then you'll understand that, like, doing that self-care stuff, that's an essential disciplinary act. That's not only healing to you, but it's healing to everyone around you, because you're showing up with the ability to know your worth and then be able to help people who might be struggling with this Libra crap. You know, you can't be the light for anybody else, you know, if you are still stuck doing this toxic relationship stuff. So really take the time to invest in yourself when that moon goes into Pisces. And then really the challenge is going to come, it's really going to start getting challenging when the moon, here's my crappy moon again. Amazing. Is going to come into Aries, and it's going to hit this north node, and it's going to square everybody in Cancer, and it's going to oppose this Libra. And this is the challenge point. So you might encounter a frustrating situation. This is going to be on Friday. That is going to potentially ask you to show what you've learned this week with what you did here. So think about how you're using your time. This is the whole thing that we've been planning with this full moon that just happened and the week leading up to that. How are we using our time? Saturn is over here in Pisces. You know what Saturn rules? Capricorn. You know what Saturn also rules? Time. How are you investing your time in order to deal with these things that we know because we look at the astrology for what is potentially going to be coming up? So you're not blindsided by this frustrating energy of like, oh, you know, I don't have the ability to deal with whatever this is because I don't have an emotional foundation of strength, you know, that I can, you know, I can pour into somebody else's cup if they need my help, or if, like, there's stuff being asked of me at work, you know, that is causing me to have, like, some kind of an emotional disturbance. Like, you know, how can you expect yourself to deal with that if during this Pisces and during this Aquarius time that we're about to go into next week, if you spent that time doing things that were not helpful to you? If you use this Aquarius to engage in, self-isolation, getting in a slump, feeling weird, feeling bad, and then you use this Pisces to self-medicate with stuff that isn't very helpful, then how can you expect yourself to come into this Aries moon where it's time to initiate, it's time to do something, it's time to emotionally show up in a way where, like, one thing about people with Aries moons is that they it's really easy for them to get, like, emotionally, like just how do I say this, aggressive. No, I'm not saying that those people are inherently aggressive, but it's, to become emotionally activated in a way where like, you're a little bit too impulsive. So there's a challenge that might come up when that Aries moon happens, and I just wanted you guys to be aware of that. I really want to start doing weekly reports, like for like a whole week, but they're pretty time consuming. But I felt kind of bad about being a little bit late for the full moon. So this is like a full moon and then leading up to the last quarter moon sort of report. So I hope that you guys got something out of this, and I hope that it prepares you really well for the week ahead. I really recommend doing that stuff that I said so you can be able to deal with whatever is going to happen when the moon goes into Aries. I have a full, way more detailed written report that's available on my Patreon if you guys want to check that out. You can try my Patreon for free for 7... I just bonked my mouse. I keep using this as a wand, lol. But you can check out my Patreon. It is free for 7 days. Or you can pay me a whopping $1 per month to see blog posts and other stuff like that. I post pretty frequently on there, at least like once or twice a week I'll post something on there. So I would say that it's worth it if you want to look into some of my deeper sorts of reports. And whenever I'm thinking about doing a podcast idea, I kind of write out what I want to talk about, and I'll post it on there also. So check that out for show. I will have another podcast episode out pretty soon. If not this weekend, then early next week. My schedule kind of changed a little bit this past week, so I'm trying to figure out when to get content creation in, because it's I struggled with this opposition too, about where to invest my time. So I'm struggling. I'm in the same boat as you guys. So, but I really appreciate you guys watching this report, and I will see you for another video at some point. I have a lot of ideas that are kind of on the back burner. One thing that just a small preview. Something that I really wanted to talk about was how I healed my horrible acne that I got during like COVID times. I had Pluto square my ascendant during that time. And it was an arduous journey, but I learned a lot. And I really want to help other people who dealt with, who are currently dealing with hormonal acne as adults, and talk about what causes that and how to actually heal it from like the inside out, instead of just like going and getting on medications or stuff like that. And a lot of it is actually behavioral, but it's also nutrition based. So I really want to go into that at some point. That's not like necessarily spiritual content, but I do want to talk about that pretty soon. So if that's something that you're interested in or excited about, let me know. I want to kind of probably record a video about that. That's like longer and more in depth about exactly what I did and how I did it and how long it took, like probably within the next month or so, because I used to have giant, horrible, red, deep scarring on my cheeks, and I had that for like 2.5 years. It was so bad. There's tiny remnants of it now, and I mean, I'm sitting here with no makeup on, but it's so much better than it was. And whenever stuff does come up on my face now, I know exactly how to deal with it, and I don't get so upset anymore, because I've seen it get pretty bad. So yeah, so I just wanted to let you guys know that is something else that I want to do, and I will see you guys later. I hope you have a fantastic week, and Yeah, okay.